congratulations on finally getting this made.
Yeah,
I understand
thanks.
It was a long journey.
Yeah, it was.
I'm
It was a
curious,
very long journey.
for both of your perspectives, why do you think a film like this that can't fit into a specific category is so difficult to get to the screen?
I think because of that, and I think a lot of people who are funding movies are afraid of that, because then they have to go sell that, and if they can't really sell it, and if they can't go in really quickly and be like, here's the poster, whatever, they actually did a really good job of boiling it down to a cool tagline and a cool idea to give you the sort of sense of it. But I think it's a movie that lives more on the sort of the chemistry of the characters and the fun of the unpredictability of it. I think that's a hard sell.
Well, the opening scene is so harrowing, and you have something really difficult that you have to do where you have to get us to empathize with Richard, even though he's actually killing someone, because the audience, or he's the window that the audience sees the rest of the story through. So I'm wondering how you approached that challenge.
I going from moment to moment through that sound of the intruder up to pulling the trigger. I mean, I think because of the way it was captured by Jim, we get the sense that this isn't a guy who has murder on his mind and didn't even really mean to pull the trigger. So that maybe, is completely horrified and overwhelmed by what, when the lights come up, is revealed. But yeah, I didn't really preoccupy myself with a goal to elicit sympathy. I just,
Well, we get the sense that it was panic that led him to pull the trigger. So I'm curious, what's the difference in the approach with a character like Dexter, who is inherently dark and homicidal, versus a character like this, where through external forces he's forced to become that way?
Well, it's I don't know. I finished 8 seasons of Dexter and almost immediately did this film, and it was kind of like an epilogue to the Dexter experience for me personally, to play someone who is just a regular guy who doesn't need to kill people or want to or even mean to. It was sort of like a cleansing experience to encounter the horror of. I mean, of course, things go where they go. I'm reluctant to speak too specifically because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I think he's a guy who his life is going along fine, but he feels like he's been kind of a patsy. He's kind of just gone along for the ride of his life, and in spite of the horror of what's happened, it does present an opportunity for him to be a bit more of an agent in his life.
Early on when we were shooting, he said that he was the kind of guy that all of his life had happened to, and then he wanted to happen to life.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, this is based on Joel R. Lansdale's incredible book. I'm wondering which aspects of the book, which elements did you want to make sure you incorporated into the film, and which did you have to leave behind?
There was a really strong aspect of fatherhood and of being a father and of also being a son. And I linked to that because I had a great relationship with my dad. And in my own weird way, I kind of imagined my dad in this guy's shoes, because it would have been probably the same time, late 80s, when I was, 6, 8 years old. And there was this cool sense that I felt like, all right, this is a thriller. It has all these elements of a thriller. It's unpredictable. It's violent. It's has this kind of pulpy storyline, but it's also told from like a guy like my dad's. If he stepped into this movie and probably wouldn't be able to navigate, but at the same time was also kind of turned on by the ideas of this and wanted to explore it. So I thought that was a really fun idea, and I think Michael captures that really well. That it's not a guy who feels at all comfortable here, yet he's not also completely not turned off completely.
Yeah.
And I think he took that idea further. We had a lot of elements brought in earlier about more like the father-son stuff, and I think a lot of it just got played with the chemistry between you and Sam, and even you and Don in a way. And
yeah, I mean, I think, he's a guy who craves a father figure. He himself is fatherless. His father died when he was young, and he, I mean, in a way, Sam's character and Don's character model for him sort of ideas of masculinity that he is only aspiring to, and I think that's part of what he keeps upping the ante and you know, wants to go to Houston with them, wants to be included in this. There's something intuitive beyond his sort of conscious misgivings that propels him forward.
So much depends on the very distinct way that he moves, his look, the way that he carries himself. I'm wondering how you created the look with the fake mullet and sort of that god awful wardrobe with the ties that.
What?
What do you mean?
the pattern
He wore his
ties
own
that
stuff.
don't match the rest.
Those
of
are my clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home with
Yeah, the mismatching ties, and I mean, it was a guy who's trying to look casual but also be professional, small town. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, without the clothes, I wouldn't have known how he moved, or yeah, it definitely informed a lot.
There was a whole day when Michael came that was so much fun because the first time you came, we had spoken, but you know,
Right.
it was crazy. Your schedule was crazy, and then you got there. This whole moment where you'd like step in and the whole wardrobe circle, and then come out, and each time it kind of felt more and more, you know, like you were getting there, and it was so cool to watch a character sort of come to life and evolve right in front of you. You know?
Yeah.
Especially because you spent so long thinking about the script, and in the script it's always a sort of a fuzzy. I don't know, I always feel that way. You sort of have a fuzzy image of who people are. And it's probably, a lot of times it's like silhouettes without a face. And I also see like in black and white and don't see color. And then all of a sudden like all those little details get painted in. We also had this thing with, I was just saying in the last one that I thought was cool, was this thing with like straight lines in the beginning. So he's a framer, so he works in a frame store. So it was always these like plaid, it was always these plaid and flannel things. And there's a moment in the movie where Michael says like, I want protection. I want protection. And he kept doing this thing, and I asked him, like, what is that? He's like, that's my straight edges. Those are my, you know, that was so cool.
So I heard something that you said, which is that Jim made you feel safe to be unsafe in this role. I was wondering if you could expand on that.
Well, I mean, I think that's for me the sort of ideal of what the kind of an environment a director creates. You know, that you feel seen, considered, supported. You don't worry about their side of things. You know, that he has a sort of expertise and a plan and a vision. And yeah, that you're safe to be unsafe in as much as you can try things and do things and know that in the end his eye and his taste and his sensibility and the clarity of his vision will use what is useful and won't use what isn't. You know, sometimes you don't feel safe and you feel like your job is unfortunately primarily just to kind of protect yourself, and that's not the most ideal way to work.
Like edit yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't really trust that anybody else is going to take care of you, and I trusted that I'd be taken care of. So you're a lot freer to take chances.
I love that this film is so, seems to be inspired by so many other films in different genres. I'm wondering, did you have any specific films, or even, it seems a lot of it was drawn from literature as well, that you know, plucked inspiration from for this?
Yeah, I think there was a whole like subgenre, I think, of Southern thrillers that, and I don't even know if it was a subgenre, if it was something I just grew up seeing a lot of and made a subgenre out of it, but like Blood Simple was sort of the great big one in '86, and then there was Red Rock West and One False Move, and those sort of became No Country for Old Men most recently, you know. But there was this whole, like, I don't know, I grew up on it, I loved horror movies and I loved that feel at the same time. I always loved these stories of like guys who were sort of sucked up into these worlds that they were sort of in over their heads, but they struggled to stay afloat, you know. And they sort of died off. I feel like that movie sort of died off. They don't really do those anymore. And so I was kind of hoping that we could make something that would feel like like it would belong on the same shelf with those movies. If there were still video stores, it would still be on the shelf with all those movies, you know. So it went as far as those movies, and then I think the week before, the cinematographer and I, we watched like Roadhouse going into it, you know, Patrick Swayze movie, to get a sense of like what they did with like Blue Moonlight, which is something that you never see anymore. they got their work in here, but you never see blue moonlight anymore. It's always like gray and silver, and it's evolved, and I kind of wanted to make a movie that had blue moonlight again.
I'm always curious when an actor comes from a theatrical background, and you're currently back on the Great White Way. As a director and as an actor, I guess, from your stance, is it different directing a theatrical actor? And how would you say that shapes the way you approach being on a film?
For me, it doesn't. Well, what was fun on this movie was it was 3 very different personalities and 3 very different styles, I guess, come together, and that was really fun. That was a lot of fun, you know. And we just come off a movie where it was a lot of young actors, and I think they're still finding their way, and then that's beautiful in its own way because you get this sort of innocence and there's a beauty to that. This was really fun because you had 3 guys sort of at the height of their abilities and peak, you know, I wouldn't say peak, so you still have a lot of room.
No, this is it. This is it.
Ends with the mullet and the tie.
This is it.
But I always say, like, we got Michael after 8 years of playing this character, so we got like a bodybuilder, like the best. He had literally just put the dumbbells down and his veins were still pumping. You know, like we got him at the height of his, you know, power, and every muscle was really flexed. So to me, it was a lot of fun. It was a challenge. It was a challenge, but it was a lot of fun coming every day and having that. And then you have Don who shows up. He's like, "This is what's written. This is what I want to say. This
right.
is how I'm gonna say it." And then you have Sam, who's kind of like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do, but if I feel it, it's gonna be amazing." You know. So it was a cool experience to have like all 3 of those guys together, and I think that's kind of part of the fun of the movie. Also, is the chemistry of 3 wildly different people.
Well, I mean, I think when you do a play, you do it in order, in front of a live audience. There are as many camera angles as there are people in the audience, and you have to sort of consider the collective angles. And there's no stopping. You know, when you do something like this, it's a deconstructed version of that. You know, you do something that happens towards the end, and then you do something at the beginning, and you had what you thought was going to happen, and your memory of what did happen, which might inform the way you did or do something that happened before that. And so you sort of construct the arc of it on the fly, in a way. It's fun.
I have to ask about your upcoming projects. I'm sure a lot of people are really excited to see what you have on the horizon. Of course, there's a lot of speculation. It's just speculation at this point that you could possibly be in Daredevil. But I wonder...
That's just internet rumors.
Internet rumors.
Yeah, I'm too old.
But hypothetically, I mean, you're at the prime
When you said
of your
that,
career.
no freaking way. I wanna see that.
Awesome!
You're at the height of your career, in your prime, according to Jim.
Right.
Let's say you could do a role like that. Do you think you have an idea of what you would want to bring to that role, aside from maybe a pig Latin or something like that?
So the question is, what would I bring to the role that I'm not going to play?
A role like that, a superhero, larger-than-life character.
I don't know, a sense of humanity, you know, a sense of dimension or complexity or yeah.
And what have you got on the horizon?
Yeah. Daredevil. I was gonna do Daredevil with Michael, but now I found out Michael can't do it. So now
You heard it here first, an exclusive.
Yeah.
The indie version of
I guess I'll see
Daredevil.
what Sam's doing now.
Starring Sam Shepard.
Daredevil, Sam Shepard. We're gonna do a television show. That's what we're working on. It's the most concrete thing. It's in some ways an extension of this movie. The same author. It's based on a series that he did. So we're playing with that right now and diving into that.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for answering my Daredevil. We're told.
You're welcome.
Where does it?
It's just, I don't know, just this internet. I mean, I called my agent about it. I was like, what is this? Every time I do an interview, they're asking me about Daredevil. What is this? He's like, this.
Wow.
People just really want you to play a
Yeah.
superhero.
Yeah.